Hello and welcome to the new series by Pale Blue Thoughts titled Woo Woo Medicines. The name is sort of a tribute to the late James Randi, who used to call all superstitions as woo woo. Today I will discuss about the differences between scientific based advanced medicines or SBAM and so-called complementary and alternate medicines or SCAMs, herein referred to as woo woo medicines. Health has always been the focus of humans ever since we evolved. Much of our time and energy is spent on ensuring we continue to live healthy, pass on our genes, evade germs and microbes and other things that cause us ill health until we cease to exist. There are many healing techniques that have been in use for a long time, some of which are science-based and some of it are not based on science. There is a third kind which claims to be science-based, and that is going to be my focus in this series. I will take each one on its merits and see if there is any science in them. These are commonly called as complementary and alternate medicines or CAM, or in my words, woo-woo medicines. Some of the most popular alternate healing techniques are faith healing, homeopathy, Ayurveda and other naturopathic and herbal medicines, acupuncture, energy healing like Reiki, pranic healing and magnetic therapy, chiropractic, aromatherapy, mindfulness, meditation, yoga, reflexology, Bowen therapy, traditional Chinese medicines, holistic and traditional medicines specific to a particular community like Siddha, Unani and Hijama or cupping. The list is endless. In the Woo Woo Medicine series, I will dissect as many as I can, their principles, their methods of working, and look at their claims that they are based on science and why science rejects those claims. Hopefully, by the end of this series, when you are approached by someone who is promoting these woo-woo medicine systems or promoting diet supplements on multi-level marketing schemes, and they throw in a scientific study at you saying, here is the proof that it works, you will have a rational basis for rejecting their claim. So hop on, the woo-woo bandwagon is ready to leave. Let us start with a joke. Do you know what they call alternate medicine that has been proved to work? Medicine. Alternative medicine is defined loosely as a set of products, practices and theories that are believed or perceived by their users to have the healing effects of a medicine, but whose effectiveness has not been proved using scientific methods, or whose theories or practices are directly contradicted by scientific evidence or scientific principles used in modern day medicine. Woo-woo medicine has either not been proved to work or has been proved not to work. So why study woo-woo medicines at all? The reason I try to do it is because sometimes you need to study the bad to understand what is good. For example, if you are learning to cook, for instance, you need to understand what bad cooking or overly done cooking is so that you can avoid those mistakes. So how do we decide if a medical treatment works? Most of the times we fall for personal experience or hearsay. Your friend said that homeopathy or Ayurveda worked for them. You posted about your illness on Facebook and someone recommended an alternate system saying it has no side effects. Your brain quickly makes the decision. Let me try it. What harm can it do? Well, forget what harm. Think what use will it be first. You also go for that treatment and your symptoms disappear. And you think, hey, this worked for me, and then you become the next link in the anecdotal chain. So how do you know it was the medicine that caused the symptoms to disappear? The symptoms could have disappeared because of various other reasons. You as a customer has the right to know whether it was the medicine that worked. But most often, we don't pause to think in that manner. Alternate systems do not have this feature installed in their software. They provide you no way of knowing whether it was the treatment that helped or if the symptoms would have subsided had you taken no medicines at all? There are a whole lot of reasons why people can come to believe that an ineffective treatment worked. Here are a few of them. The disease may have run its natural course. A lot of diseases are self-limiting. The body's natural process helps people get back to healthy lives without the need for medications. Wounds heal, a cold goes away within a week whether you treat it or not. Even the current COVID-19 has been shown to disappear in some patients without any treatment. You may have seen this happen almost daily. Headaches, shoulder pains, etc. sometimes disappear without you doing anything about it. The problem with such self-limiting diseases is that if you take an ineffective treatment during that time, you could be fooled into thinking that it was the medicine that worked. A cold naturally disappears even if you have been drinking your regular dose of kada or eating garlic, ginger or sugar pills soaked in water. Even life-threatening diseases sometimes disappear without treatment. For example, before we invented penicillin, pneumonia was sometimes known to disappear without any treatment. Researchers compared the survival rates with or without the antibiotics before deciding whether it was the medicine that worked. Camps just don't bother with such double-blinded studies. Number 2. Many diseases are cyclical. The symptoms of many diseases fluctuate over time. Fevers go up and down. People with arthritis have good days and bad days. When you use a medicine around the time the pain gets bad, it was probably on its way down anyways. So the remedy gets undue credit. And this is called regression to the mean. Women who suffer from normal menstrual pains can relate to this better. The pain usually increases from the onset of the periods, peaks and then begins to subside. So if you take a pill during the day when the pain is at its peak and then the pain comes down, it is natural to assume that the pills worked. The problem is that you are looking at only the right side of the graph. The pain would have subsided had you not taken any pills at all. Number 3, we are all suggestible. If we are told something is going to hurt, it probably will. The same way, if we are told something will make it better, it probably would. We all know this. That is why we kiss our children when they are ill, as they would feel better just by that act. Number 4, the wrong treatment gets the credit. You may be taking an ineffective medicine such as homeopathy at the same time you are undergoing chemotherapy. If you get better, you may claim that it was the sugar pills that helped and not the gamma rays. The diagnosis and prognosis may be wrong. We have all heard people claim that X cured my cancer. Mainly, it is the faith healers who makes money using these techniques. When you track down the details of those miracle cancer cures, quite often it turns out that they never had a biopsy. So, we can never really know if they had cancer to cure. Even if they had a biopsy, the inference or the diagnosis could be wrong. Pathologists have been known to make mistakes. Slides can get mixed up. Modern medicine doesn't just depend on one symptom or test result to jump into a conclusion most of the times. Camps always run on assumption gear. Sometimes the prognosis or the prediction could be mistaken. Have you not heard people say, I was told I have only 6 months to live, but I have lived for 3 years now? Doctors can only make educated guesses about the future. All that the doctor knew was the average life expectancy for that condition was 6 months. Remember, average. You could die within 2 weeks or you could live for 3 years or more. Number 6. Temporary mood improvement mistaken for cure. Just having a long chat with a doctor can sometimes help a patient's mood. Homeopaths and other woo-woo practitioners use this fully to their advantage. They spend a lot of time with their patients and keep asking relevant and irrelevant questions during their diagnosis. They have all the time in the world. This talk really helps to boost a patient's confidence in the doctor. This is where modern medicine doctors have a drawback. They usually have long lines waiting outside or are in the middle of critical or emergency care and cannot spend such time with their patients. This leads to a lack of trust among patients for the already stressed out doctor. Recently, this fault has been identified and corrective measures have been taken to include the subject of the importance of doctor-patient relationships in modern medical schools. But one point to note is that while the talks can elevate your mood, the disease has not gone anywhere. Number 7. Psychological needs affect behavior and beliefs. When people badly have the need to feel better, they can convince themselves that they have been helped. If they have invested time and money, they don't want to admit that it has been wasted. When a doctor is trying to sincerely help a patient, the patient feels a social obligation to please the doctor by getting better, and they may convince themselves that they are better when they really are not. People have been known to deny the facts even when a tumor has been getting bigger. People have been known to be in a state of denial, which is part of the 5 stages of grief as per the Kubler-Ross model of grief. I won't discuss this in detail right now, but understand that patients, especially critically ill ones, have been known to pretend that they don't have an illness. Denying it gives them time to more gradually absorb the news and begin to process it. This is a common defense mechanism and helps to numb you from the intensity of the situation. Mistaking correlation to causation. I have discussed this before, but in medical situations, just because an improvement follows a treatment doesn't mean that the treatment caused the improvement. It is often called the post hoc ergo propter hoc in Latin. This means after this, therefore because of this. It is a fallacy which means that A occurred, then B occurred, therefore A caused B. The rooster crowed, therefore the sun came up, so the rooster caused the sun to rise. Now that is false. The sun would have risen no matter if the rooster crowed or not. We are all seeing this fallacy in live action these days, which is causing a vaccine hesitancy in people, where people see others dying shortly after receiving vaccinations, and then they assume that the vaccination caused the death. It is easy for anyone to assume that because I took a certain medicine and I felt better, that means the pill must have worked. This can be similar to the rooster example and might have not been the reason. Correlation doesn't lead to causation. To find out if correlation indicates a cause, a statistician named Bradford Hill came up with a 9-point list for determining causation. It would be too much to discuss this right now, but you can Google it if you want. So why do people fool themselves into believing something when there is no evidence? Because that is how our brains work. We prefer stories to studies. We have cognitive flaws and biases. Biases and cognitive errors lead us to false conclusions that we wish to be true. Science is the only method that allows us to control these biases and cognitive errors and allows us to obtain reliable information. Now let us look at how evidence-based medicine came into being. It was a term that was introduced in the early 90s, 1991 to be precise. Before that, we had other EBMs such as expert-based medicines. What an expert told was considered to be true. If Aristotle, who was the expert, told that men have more teeth than women, we accepted it as true without bothering to check inside the mouths. Then came the experience-based medicine. If a physician told that in my experience this treatment has worked well for my patients, you believed it. Even now, almost all the so-called alternative medicine systems work on experience or on the sayings of an expert. Ask any practitioner and that is what you will hear. Modern medicine, on the other hand, decided to join hands with science to change from expert or experience-based to science-based. So what does science-based medicine consider? Look at this diagram here. It shows the hierarchy for analyzing evidences. At the very bottom are in vitro research, also called as test tube results. These are evidences from experiments conducted in a test tube or a petri dish. You can kill cancer cells in a petri dish even with bleach, but what happens in a petri dish doesn't necessarily happen when they are part of a living body. Then comes the more controversial animal research, where certain medicines are first tested on animals. But then, research on animals may not be applicable on humans. Not always, at least. For example, aspirin causes birth defects in mice, but it doesn't do that in humans. Next on the list consists of speculations from people who may be more or less qualified to speculate. Then case reports, descriptions of a single patient. Then case series, reports of several patients with the same condition. Then case control studies, where patients with lung cancer are studied against people who don't have lung cancer, for instance, to determine if there was more smokers in the lung cancer group. Then cohort studies, where groups of people are studied over time to determine which group gets a specific disease over time. Then comes the gold standard, or the randomized controlled trials, or RCT, almost at the top of the pyramid. But there is even a higher level. Many times RCT can throw up conflicting results. To break the tie, we can do a systematic review or a meta-analysis to combine results from several studies to reach a more accurate conclusion. They are the highest level of evidence, but they are only as good as the quality of the individual studies. Recently, there was a study done in Pathanamthitta, a district in Kerala, where homeopaths claimed to have conducted an RCT to prove the efficacy of their medicine Arsenicum album 30C for boosting immunity in patients to prevent COVID-19. But when a careful meta-analysis was done by experts, it was found that the study was flawed. So evidence-based medicines relies purely on data from evidences. But there is a problem with this pyramid. It doesn't include evidences from basic science. So there is a chance that alternate medicines can pass off as being scientific if we put them on this chart. That is what happened with the study at Pathanamthitta. This pyramid does not gather evidence from science which can show that a treatment may be highly improbable or impossible. So, an alternate medicine system such as homeopathy can be passed off as valid even if it is incompatible with the proven basic principles of physics, chemistry, and biology. Sometimes it will require stronger evidence to prove something which is implausible. Carl Sagan, on whose famous description of planet Earth, the pale blue dot, upon which this channel is based on, said it best: extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidences, and that is where most camps fail. The evidence-based approach doesn't work well for camps. It works on a one-tool-fits-all approach. Evidence-based medicines focuses on clinical trial research. It just looks at the published clinical research papers and accepts the finding. They just assume that anything that reached the clinical trial must have had good science backing or basic science evidence to support its efficacy. This isn't true, as we would be seeing in the upcoming videos. Science knows the way in which clinical studies can go wrong and causes us to reach incorrect conclusions. So in this video, I have talked about what science-based medicine is. It is a modern system that evaluates health claims, practices, and products using the best scientific evidence available in the light of our cumulative scientific knowledge from all relevant disciplines. In the next video, we can look into more detail into the woo-woo medicines. If you like this video, and only if you understood the importance of sharing this with the rest of the society, share this video to help others discover the difference between science-based medicines and woo-woos. This may one day save yours and their lives. Until next time, it's bye-bye from Pale Blue Thoughts.